The term metaphysical was first used by Dryden, John Dryden, for John Donne. Then later it was confirmed by Dr. Johnson. Johnson approved this term for John Donne. What do we mean by metaphysical? Simply we mean meta means beyond and physical means the physical nature. It means the writing or the creation, the poem, whatever written by the metaphysical poets was beyond the physical nature. It means they wrote about the spirituality, they wrote beyond the physical nature, etc. And this writing has certain characteristics or the features, and they are very much important. And we will prove all those features when we read John Donne's poetry. Even in this single poem, we will find so many qualities, so many features of metaphysical school of poetry. Some of the metaphysical features or the characteristics we should know that in metaphysical poetry or the poems, there is a fusion of emotions and intellect. There is the two heterogeneous objects are yoked together. This is also said by Dr. Johnson, that the two different things are mixed here. Two different images, far-fetched images, are mixed here in order to prove the argument. Metaphysical poems are a little complex and difficult, and they are very much intellectual in tone. They are full of conceits, they are full of the arguments, they are full of the wits. John Donne is also famous for his conceits and wits. They are very much argumentative, and we will see that the new vocabularies from the unknown fields or the different fields than the literature, like geography, science, art, trade, commerce, are also used in these poems. And we see that the poems also begins very abruptly. The language of the poems are very much colloquial. Unusual compound words have been used. In this way, we will see that the poems are also in some kind of dramatic form. So these are only the basic characteristics or chief features of the school of metaphysical poets. So John Donne is not an exception of that, and he is also called as the founder of metaphysical school of poetry. So now come to the poem. As I have already told you the gist or the summary of the poem, that the poem is about the inconsistency of the woman, about the unfaithfulness of the woman, what the poet considers. Now let's go with the poem, line by line. Go and catch a falling star. So I think the title is very much clear to you. The poet means to say, go and go and catch a falling star. So the poet is addressing. Here the poet is addressing. He is telling to someone. It means here he is telling to the readers, to the lovers of poetry, one who is reading his poem. So he says, "Go and catch a falling star." He tells the readers or the audience that go and catch a falling star. You can go and you can catch a falling star. Catch a falling, that is, you can go and you can catch a falling star. We know that catching a falling star is not only the difficult one, but it is an impossible thing. So, what is impossible thing has been made the title of this poem, and this is also the very first line of this poem. So the poet means to say that it is impossible to find a faithful woman than catching a falling star. So in the first stanza of this poem, we have 3 stanzas in this poem. So in the very beginning stanza of this poem, the poet gives us a series of impossibilities in this world. The series of those things which are not possible to perform by the human beings. Why he puts these all things? In order to prove his own idea or the argument. And what is his argument or the statement? It is very clear that we cannot find a true woman in this world. So in order to prove his statement or his idea or his concept about womanhood, the poet gives us so many arguments in this poem. So he says, he describes many impossible things. The first one, that you cannot catch a falling star. It's right, it is impossible thing. Get with child a mandrake root. He also tells us, can you get a child from a mandrake root? Mandrake is a plant that has the human form or that looks like human being. But we cannot get a child from that plant because it is impossible thing. So finding a plant bearing a child is definitely or equally impossible. Then the poet says, tell me where all past years are. The poet says, tell me where all the past years have gone. It means no one can tell, no one can catch or tell about the past years where they have gone. So this is also impossible thing. Then he says, or who clapped the devil's foot? Or can anyone tell us about the man, about the person, about whom or about who have or had clapped? Clapped means here divide or split the devil's foot. So it is supposed that the devil's foot are devil's feet are cloven. So no one knows that who clapped, who divided, who split devil's foot. Devil here means Satan. Satan, the name of devil. So no one knows. So it is also impossible thing. Then again teach me to hear mermaids singing. The poet says that anyone can teach me how to hear the mermaids singing. Mermaids here, the nymphs. Mermaids here, the creatures who have the half woman and half men. So no one can tell us, no one can teach us how to hear the songs of mermaids. So it is impossible. Mermaids singing has been, mentioned in classical Greek classical literature or in mythology. They are supposed to sing, but no one can hear them because they are half fish and half women. So it is also again one of the impossible things. Or to keep off envy's stinging. Or it is also impossible to keep one or to keep oneself away from the envy's pain. That is, we cannot remove ourselves, we cannot get away ourselves from the pain of the envy. Envy is stinging. So envy is a natural instinct of the human nature. So we cannot escape ourselves from it. Then again, and find what wine serves to advance an honest mind. And again, the poet says it is similarly impossible to know what makes a man honest. And find what wine, what wind, or what that serves to advance, that makes, that grow, or that make a man honest or a mind honest. So in this way, in the very beginning stanza of this poem, the poet mentions all these impossible things in order to prove his statement or the argument. Although what we see in this very first stanza, there is no mention of the statement of the poet here in the first stanza. In the first stanza, the poet only mentions the impossible things that a man cannot perform, that it is that these are the beyond of the man's power. He never says in the first stanza about the woman, about his pivot statement that we cannot find a faithful woman in this world. So it's not there in the first stanza. We will find the description or the mention of this statement in the second stanza, the last line of the second stanza. So let's go with the second stanza.